So how do you actually know that you're fluent in English? Is it when you remember all the grammar rules, or is it when you can order a coffee in an American restaurant without hesitating? Well, you know what? Fluency, it's more than just these. Okay, and in this video, I'm gonna talk about hidden signs, and if you have any of these, you're actually starting to be fluent in English. So without any further ado, let's get started. If you're an English learner and seems like you never think of grammar when you speak, seems like you've already internalized all of these patterns, when somebody asks you questions like, when do we use the specific tense? You're just like, I don't know. I just know like this sounds right and this doesn't sound right. Just give me a sentence and I'll tell you if it's correct or not. If you're that kind of person, then yeah, you're actually fluent, because at this point, you're at the level of a native speaker. Native speakers don't actually think of grammar when they speak. And you should know this, because when you speak your native language, you don't actually think of grammar. You don't go like, so the action happened in the past and it's still happening now, so I have to use present perfect. Yeah. How the hell do we conjugate the verb in present perfect? Yeah, native speakers don't do that. So if you've gone past that stage, then believe me, you're actually on your way to be fluent. Like, seriously, believe me on this one. I think this is very obvious. When we start to learn a specific language, we tend to use our native language to, as a way to learn that new language. And we find ourselves translating a lot. Like, we need to translate what the native speakers are saying for us to understand what they say. And sometimes we translate in our head before we actually say what we mean and end up spitting out crappy sentences that don't make sense. Bruh. Yeah. I know. It's okay. But if you're somebody who's just really bad at translating, and of course this excludes translators because that's your job, but if you're someone who's really bad at translation, then that means that you actually skipped translation, meaning that you're like a native speaker. You don't need another language to, translate from or to translate into for you to understand or for you to be able to communicate with other people. So if you're someone who just doesn't need any sort of translation to understand anything said in English, then yeah, you're actually on your way to be fluent. And you know what? I'm gonna stop saying on your way. I'm just gonna say you're fluent. Yeah. I mean, if you know how to speak English and if you're fluent in that specific language, then you wouldn't have any problem talking to strangers or asking people what time it is or, bashing me in the comment section. Nice. There's not much explanation to this one, but just like, if you don't have any problems having conversation with people in English and engage in small talk and ask like how they're doing and how things are, then yeah, because someone who's not fluent would struggle to do this because they would think to themselves like, oh, what does this native speaker think of me? Like, if I'm gonna make a mistake, is he going to think that I'm a loser? Yeah, nobody thinks you're a loser. Like, seriously, nobody pays attention to how you sound like in English or like how many mistakes you've made in one sentence. Like, seriously, you just gotta speak sometimes, okay? I've seen people who are like so comfortable speaking, making a lot of mistakes, but nobody actually gives a shit. Like, just talk, man. Just talk. Like, seriously, just talk. If you don't talk, then you cannot improve. And once you reach that level when you're so comfortable talking to other people in English, then yeah, you're actually on your way to become, more fluent in English. Let's move on to the next sign. There's no other way to put this, but I'm just gonna say native speakers talk so freaking fast. Like that's just how it is. I mean, compared to other languages, like most other languages, like English, I'm talking specifically about American English here, but I know some British English can be really fast too.
The thing is, I was in her dressing room and I was like, there was only a little curtain separating us while she was having her makeup done, and I started like going, I don't think I can do this, I don't think I can do this.
What the f***?
but we're talking about American English here. And you can hear rappers, for example, they talk so freaking fast. They can go like talk for 1 minute without breathing, or I don't know, something like that. And it becomes so hard for, English learners to understand this. And this is actually built with habits. By listening to a lot of English, your ears start to get used to the vowel reduction. That's how we call it. Like when you reduce vowel sounds, instead of saying out of nowhere, you might say out of nowhere. Instead of saying I want to go out today, you might say I want to go out today. And it seems like it's really fast, but what they're doing is actually just reducing the vowel sounds into something called a schwa, which is just a neutral sound in English. And if you're still capable of understanding things that are just really fast, then believe me, you actually are fluent in English. Like hats off. Like really. Yeah. All right, this one is actually very simple because you're not gonna go to your boss and say something like, "What up, dude? How's it going?" You're gonna be fired right away. Like seriously, you're gonna switch to formal tone instead, okay? If you're capable of switching between different tones like formal and informal depending on the situation, then you actually know your way around English. Yeah, seriously, like when you talk to your boss, maybe you sound something like, "Good morning, sir. I'm really sorry that I'm actually late today, but I've had some problems at home. I hope that's all right. And I don't know why the fuck I sounded British when I said that." Let's move on to the next hidden sign. All right, when it comes to cultural references, this is actually very important because if you're someone who's going to live in the United States, you're going to need to understand cultural references. People tend to usually reference, I don't know, jokes from TV shows. Let's take, for example, Friends. And people talk about jokes that Chandler makes all the time, like stressing some part of the sentence and saying something like, "Could I be more interesting?" And that's sarcasm right there. Or, people talk about the fact that Ross and Rachel were on a break. Don't get me started on that one.
Gain a little perspective.
We were on a break!
Okay, if you understand cultural references from TV shows or, anything that is related to the United States, or like how to be a good Texan, like, football, Jesus Christ, and Dr. Pepper. I don't really know. Okay, I don't know how to be a Texan. These are just things that you can find on the internet. Please don't bash me in the comment section. But if you understand cultural references, then yeah, you're actually becoming fluent in English because you're starting to immerse in this language and the origin of this specific language. Let's move on to the next one. All right, this one is actually amazing if you think about it. You understand that mistakes can happen most of the time. Mistakes will happen, okay? And if you're fluent at this language, not at this language, but if you're fluent in English, you see what I just did there? I actually made a mistake. I used the wrong preposition. I said fluent at instead of fluent in, and I didn't really care. I just corrected myself. And native speakers actually do this too. And if you're someone who's like that, like you make a mistake and you don't care about it, you just correct yourself like, oh, that happens. Like sometimes you say the wrong pronunciation, sometimes you say the wrong preposition, and that's okay. You just correct yourself after. Like the point of this, of using a language is to actually convey information, and as long as the other person understands that's the point of it. So if you're able to correct your own pronunciation, let's say you speak, all right, you're speaking, all right, and all of a sudden you're making a mistake. Instead of saying, "Oh, I feel really cold," you end up saying, "I feel really cold." And you're like, "Really cold?" I meant cold. Yeah. If you're like that, you correct your own pronunciation and you correct your own mistakes, you're actually fluent because you can directly hear the mistakes. Beginners actually struggle to even hear mistakes. That's why they need a teacher to show them the right path. But if you are already capable of correcting your own mistakes, whether it's about pronunciation, wrong preposition, or wrong grammar, or I don't know, whatever, you're actually fluent. Yeah, you're fluent, man. Like seriously. Now, when it comes to jokes and sarcasm, this is something that you're gonna need to get used to if you're thinking of living in the United States, like seriously. And also learning how to flirt. Sometimes people are actually flirting with you and you're just not aware of it. Like, you just don't know that they're actually flirting with you. And not only that, but sometimes you don't even know that the person is being sarcastic. Like seriously. But I'm just gonna give you a little hint. When somebody comes up to you and says like, oh, yeah, great job, man, great job. You know that's sarcasm right there. Or they stress specific part of the sentence. Like, that is interesting. You know they're being sarcastic. So sarcasm is basically saying something, like one specific thing, and then you don't actually mean that, but you mean the opposite of it. Yeah, I don't know why this is even a thing, because it's kind of dark if you think about it. But it's for humor. It's supposed to be funny. So if you understand jokes, if you watch movies and when people are laughing and you're also laughing like for real, not like fake laughing, then you know that you actually understand the jokes, and aka you're actually fluent. That's really good. Next, if you're actually able to think in English, what does it mean to think in English? Let's say I say a word in English. I'm just gonna say house. Do you see the picture of a house in your head, or do you need a little bit of time to understand what that means? Like, do you need to translate, or and when you're speaking in English, do you have thoughts in English and then you just spit them out? Like, you just speak them out of you? If you do have thoughts in English, then believe me, that's a really huge sign that you're very fluent. You're not thinking in any other languages anymore, and you don't need to translate anymore, and you're actually very close to being a native speaker when you have reached this specific stage of thinking in English. You know how to think in English. You're actually becoming fluent in English. Yeah, so if a native speaker actually told you, like asked you questions that basically assumes that you're a native speaker, I don't even understand why you're still watching this video, man. Oh yeah, you're still waiting for that. You know, this is the one that is going to really, really, really shake your perspective. Like, this one is not obvious, but if you've had this, believe me, you're so fluent. You have dreams in English. This is crazy. Let's say English is not your native language, okay? But then you have dreams, and somehow you speak English in that dream, and other people are also speaking in English. Oh, dude, if you've had this, then you should have a wide smile on your face right now. Like, seriously. Because that means that... Oh, shit. That means that English actually reached your subconscious mind, and now it's at this point where English is just a natural thing for you. Like, speaking in English is, you don't even need to make efforts to speak English. You don't have to think before you speak, because it's a part of you now. Like, yeah, congratulations on that. Please go ahead and leave a comment down below. Let me know what kind of signs you've had already, and also if there are signs that I missed out on. Please go ahead, leave that in the comment section down below, and hit subscribe. Hit that like button, because when you do that, YouTube actually shoves this video to other people's faces who might need it, and it's a win-win for everybody. And I'll see you guys in the next video. My Fasu out. You know, I'm actually filming this at 10 in the evening. Like, it's almost 11 right now, because too many cars outside.